Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the podcast called Knowledge Empowers. As always, with you is me, Kat, 안녕하세요. Then we have Baruch,
Hello?
and we have Kolaj.
Brano.
Kolaj is sort of lazy to say something. uh, today's topic, maybe we've heard a lot about it, and this past year, there's literally everyday talk about it. But we really want to sort of summarize what did the COVID-19 situation brought us or took from us. And even though my friends didn't want to shoot this story because every day we keep hearing about it, but I said this is such a phenomena that I'm not sure. I never actually, not even sure. I never encountered such a situation in my life till today, and we will see what future will bring. And there was a big change in Baruch's life due to this phenomena. So let's start with Baruch. What did COVID brought you or took from you?
What did COVID took from me? Honestly, I never think about the situation in a way like it's good or bad. It's a situation. It's life, right? So
It is life, but you had the biggest change in your life.
Right. What I want to say is that I don't see it bad or good. I just see it as something to learn from. And well, simply to describe what happened, when the COVID started, I was in China, and
at that time, how long have you been already in China?
It was 5 years, more than 5.5 around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it was in China when it all started. I think she's like patient zero, no?
I actually caught COVID here in Slovakia, which is funny. Yeah, but I'm here, so that's good. But anyway, going back to China. Well, at that time in our city, we didn't know like how many cases we have, if we have any at all. And because it started all in Wuhan, right? So it was far away. Like people say, like it started in China, but China is a huge country, and like a lot of China wasn't affected at the beginning. So we didn't know what to expect. Like the rest of the world had the luxury of knowing what China found out after months about COVID, which we didn't as public in China. We didn't know like how deadly the virus is or what kind of symptoms are normal symptoms for COVID. If you have any lasting symptoms till the rest of your life and such stuff. So it was more scary not to know what it is than like for the rest of the world, because after a month, at least the rest of the countries knew, okay, these are the symptoms, and if you have them, you have COVID, and some people recovered from it, right? And still at the time, probably when the rest of the world was hit by COVID, I think the deadliness wasn't that clear, but it was already a little bit known, like it's not 100% or it's not 50%, right? So that was better, but we didn't know that. So what Chinese government did, they shut us all down, but completely down. Like you couldn't get out of your apartment. So we basically lived through online services, online deliveries. We could go to lobby of our own apartment building, and the only like face-to-face interactions I had were with delivery guys, And if I wanted to speak to someone I actually know in my life, I had to just be online with them. And this lasted like, I think, 3 weeks.
Okay, so what about the professional work? What happened
Professional
there?
work. So yeah, from out of those 3 weeks, we had 1 week vacation. Is like one of those biggest vacation, Chinese New Year. So everybody's staying home with their families. I stayed by myself because I didn't live with my family in China, and it was a little bit crazy, really. Honestly, like if I think that I'm a very introverted person, so I don't mind staying alone for a prolonged time, but still, after you meet a different person, only at that time I realized I miss different people. So I still have that in me, that I don't really look for human connection by myself. But after I have that connection, I feel like, okay, I should look for it. It's not healthy to stay alone for the long time.
Yeah. It was for me. It was after 3 days. Like, I'm missing people, and my introverted husband came after 1 year to me and said, I'm missing people. I'm like, wow. After 1 year, yeah.
But he got you, right? So that's
I can
us
imagine
introverts.
that.
We just need 1 or 2.
I can imagine that in Michal's case, it was like, I'm missing people. How many? Like 2. Not the whole
Exactly,
bunch,
too.
but like
And enough.
we could maybe meet my sister.
Yeah.
And so what happened at work?
Well, there was not much work. I mean, from office at the beginning. Actually, for quite a long time. I think until April. So from end of the February till April, we didn't see each other. And actually, there was like we wore masks since the beginning, yeah, and which was, I think, very good. And I honestly, I don't like. I don't want to badmouth certain countries, but I don't get like why certain countries like where like no, masks don't help. Like there was a clear proof that they do help. Okay,
Even
so
the flu
mhm.
dropped rapidly, and we
Yes,
had no flu. What's the word I'm looking for? Like every year during the winter, right? Lots of people get sick of flu, and this year we had almost zero, just because people were wearing masks.
yeah,
So the
yes,
spreading literally stopped.
yeah. So that was it. We couldn't go to any shops, even grocery stores. It was all closed. So, and it was always waiting, like waiting what will happen. Like there was never any certainty, like what's going to happen. And fortunately, in our city of over 6 million people population, we had only few cases. I very much liked how it was all organized in China. I know many people consider tracking other citizens as like breach of freedom, but honestly, I liked it. It made sense in this situation, and it helped to track down people with COVID. There was no discrimination against people that caught COVID. And I think that's why China could get rid of it relatively quickly compared to the Western world. We always like scanned the QR code when we went to some establishment, like later on when they opened, like if it was restaurant or a shop, grocery store. So we scanned a code, and basically the government knew like where you went. And in the same went for like buses. When you rode a bus, then you scan the code. So some people might think of it as like taking your freedom and privacy away. I complied because I thought it made sense. It's not that of a secret, like where I go to, like if I go to a restaurant, like be it may everybody know it, like there's nothing wrong with it.
Yes, I'm feeling that this is really a huge disconnection between what we feel like we are controlled or monitored, and if we don't know about it. Like we are carrying our phones, the GPS is there, it's turned on. You connect to the internet, suddenly they know. You are having a band, like armband with you. They have the GPS. I think that there was even some leak because the U.S. Army. I'm not sure if it's hoax or not, so careful for that. But what I've read a story is that the U.S. Army soldiers gave away the GPS or the coordinates of their base because they were wearing these Chinese armbands and they were tracking the GPS, and suddenly they've seen like, oh, all these soldiers are gathering at this one specific place. I wonder what could be there. So,
But it's the same. We are taking a picture of our food,
yeah,
and you place it on Instagram, and it holds exactly in which restaurant you are. You check in literally. So we are the one actually giving the data away.
Yeah.
Suddenly, if someone says we're gonna track you, we go like, no, but we are the one doing it anyhow. So it's
suddenly
like
everybody's Mel Gibson, drawing themselves like
freedom. Now I want to go to the topic of we know many companies start doing big layouts, right? Because they start doing cuttings, and this start happening all over the world. It's not just here, there, but really all over the world. And that's what happened to you.
Yes.
And let's say the rule in China, which I don't think many people know, but if you are a foreigner in China, what happens? What are the rules?
Well, the rule is if you don't have a job, you cannot stay there unless you have some kind of special visa, or you have a spouse there, etc. But if you are there just for the job and you don't have it, you must find another one within, I think, a month and a half. And if you don't, then basically you must leave. But the situation was as it was, and there were no planes.
So
back
that
to
time,
Europe.
that time, and me and my husband, we were trying hell Baruch to get back to Slovakia, and we went on all our known websites through which we are buying air tickets, and literally when you were typing, the page came blank.
Yes.
That normally you had like 4 or 5 pages to pick from which flight you're gonna take, but this time everything just came blank, like nothing.
Yes.
And I remember we even wrote to our embassy in Shanghai, I think, or Beijing, wherever they are, and even the embassy didn't help. So I was really disappointed because I thought at minimum that European Union would say, okay, let's help European Union citizens in a way that we as countries, let's say, okay, we have this many citizens from Germany, we have this many citizens from there, and maybe the European Union could pull, let's say, a charter, for example, and bring the European citizens to Europe. But nothing like that. And really, I was disappointed even in the answer we received from Slovak embassy. And I was literally like, what on earth are you doing there? Are you just taking money and that's it? Like, what's the point? Why are you there? What's the point? This was exactly why you are there in a crisis. You are supposed to help as an embassy to your citizens, and not like, nah, we are putting our hands
if there is
away.
crisis, I'm doing what everybody does. Panic.
And so it took us, what was it? May, June, July, August, 4 months. Right?
3 months.
3 months to get Baruch from China to Europe.
Yes. And like at the point where I was talking about you and you started to help me, actually more people wanted to help me because they thought like they will come up with something new that I didn't. At that point, I was already trying for a month and something, right? wasn't like I didn't try. I didn't contact the embassy. I didn't see the flights through like other places that were like half of the world away from China. But it was just wasn't possible.
Yeah.
Basically.
And then we found, for example, perfect airplane, let's say, with a very good price. It was through Japan, but then came the obligations that actually Baruch luggage would have to go only from one place to another. And if it would stop by at a specific place, then she couldn't actually fly through
Away.
it. Fly away, yeah. So we found like, okay, this one could work. And then you read further, and then because of the luggage, she wasn't able to fly with it. I'm like, you must be kidding me.
There are many challenges, so many. And actually,
I still remember. Sorry to interrupt. I still remember the joke we've had at the time, and it was about a cruise ship that it would be faster if you take a
Oh
ticket for a
yeah.
ship and take a cruise around the world and get here to the Europe than actually go and waiting there. So
we were saying like, let's order something from AliExpress, and we will put Baruch in that box with all her luggages and everything, and she would get faster here than the normal way.
Actually, at that time, I was my contract with my landlord expired. It was actually about to expire at the end of April. So he was kind enough to let me stay longer, although he needed the apartment. And like when I thought I'm already going to get to the plane, I had to go to Shanghai, which is a 2-hour flight from my city. Then actually at the time when I came to Shanghai, I read email from actually I didn't read email. I just noticed on the flight status it's canceled. They didn't send me emails when the flights were canceled. So I was in Shanghai without any place to stay except the hotel. And the apartment in Dalian was already gone, basically. So there was this thing that I stayed in Shanghai, but I didn't know what to do because I didn't know when my next flight is going to be and if it's going to fly or not. So it was actually already a third time that this kind of situation happened to me, but at the time, the previous times, I still had the apartment. At this time, I didn't. So I decided to go back to Dalian. So again, back to our flight because at least I knew some people there. And if something bad happened, there would be someone to help me. I knew the city. I knew where to stay. I knew where to eat, etc. So I went back, but I stayed in the cheapest hotel I could find. And after a few days, 4 days, 5 days, I got another chance to fly again back to Shanghai. And at that time, actually, a new wave in Dalian started. So the way I left Dalian was basically in this gray area time where the city already forbid the people to fly out, but at the same time, all the restrictions were not technically in place. They were there on paper, but technically, people were not that fast enough to adjust.
So no alarm when you scanned your code in the bus, right?
And I'm like, I'm going to Shanghai.
actually, when at the airport, I was supposed to be tested and have a proof that I was tested, and I was the result was negative. And when the lady at the airport asked me, "Do you have a result of a test?" I said, No, actually, she was speaking to me Chinese, and when she asked this to me, I thought maybe she's asking about it, but I wasn't sure. And I said, like, sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. She said, like, do you have the acid test, blah blah blah, something like that in Chinese. And I said, I don't know. And basically I used the dictionary to translate what she was trying to tell me. I said no, and I was like waiting there for her to say, like, sorry, you cannot fly, although you have ticket already that you bought 6 hours ago.
And that's a
But
sentence in the dictionary, right? So you find it on page 5. You can't fly.
because of COVID restrictions. So, but what she did, what they had at that time, like for this short period of time, they had this like a disclaimer paper where you need to sign, like, I'm aware that it's my own risk that I fly, and that I will need to take responsibility if I spread the COVID and go to quarantine and such stuff. So so fortunately I got to Shanghai. It was still not that clear that I will fly away from China. So I stayed there like 3 days before the flight, because I knew if I went 3 days later from Dalian, I wouldn't actually get to Shanghai. So I stayed in Shanghai, and fortunately that was the final flight that actually took me back to Europe. And that was, around 3 months later, then I started to try to
Try to
get back.
fly.
Yes.
So this is the fun part, that you have 1 month or month and a half to leave the country based on your law. But with this phenomena, it wasn't even possible to
Yes.
oblige the law because of the phenomena. So very, very interesting.
It's interesting. Some foreign colleagues that I had from India, they went back to their countries earlier, like before all the restrictions went in place, and they couldn't return. And like they had rented apartments for a year, they had their stuff there, and because the restrictions of both countries, I think they are still not back.
Wow.
Yes. So even the contract for rent expired and such stuff. Imagine you have this kind of situation.
Everything there. Yeah.
Everything there. Like, what will you do? Like, you need just to have good relationships in the country and hope that someone will help you to move stuff, which is no easy feat if you live there for years, right? So
wow. So Kolaj, what COVID brought you or took from you?
Well, I will react to that in a general way about what Barry is saying. And there is this psychological perspective on that, which is called locus of control. And I feel we've got this tested a lot in the past year. And it's not just about this period, but I would say it's in general. And this locus of control is saying, like, there are two of those. It's internal locus of control and external locus of control. And the external is what we probably know, or you can hear, like, oh, why this is happening to me? I can't change anything. I can't do anything about it. It's a bad weather. Oh, I need to change it somehow. So that's like, okay, I'm controlling. I need to control everything around me. Well, on the other thing is that there is internal locus of control, which in translation means something like, it's a bad weather. Oh, never mind. I have a good mood anyway. So you're focusing on things which you can change, only you can change. In the external ones, it's like everything is given. You can't change anything. In the internal, you are responsible for everything, if I say it like this. And this period actually brought us a huge distinction between these. For those who had just the external locus of control, they needed to control everything, everywhere, everything was happening to them. They suddenly got into the panic because they hadn't things under control. And if you were, on the other hand, totally into internal locus of control, you were in a panic mode again because you were thinking that you're responsible for everything, that you need to
Mhm.
change everything, that you need to impact everything. So I feel that this was a great training for you as a personality, even for you, Baruch, because you went through so many experiences in a short time that you had to learn. Yep, that you had to learn what you can control, what you can't
Mhm.
control. And you were saying it multiple times, like, I can influence this, and I need to deal with it somehow or find a way. What I can do, what I can influence, but this is something I can't do. So this is what actually I've learned, I've practiced during the past year. Like, okay, so there are some restrictions. I can't go visit my mom. Okay, so what I can do with that?
Mhm.
I can meet her, I can call her, I can learn, I can teach her how to use Zoom, I can teach her how to use Facebook calls, whatever. I can go to Bahamas. I can't go to Japan. I've planned a vacation in Japan. Suddenly it was not possible. So what I'm gonna
Mhm.
do? Well, I can do a small vacation either on my balcony or maybe high tetras when there is this possibility. And I need to switch. I need to accommodate because not
Mhm.
everything is possible, and it's up to me, my mindset of what I can do, what I want to influence, how I'm gonna change that. So that's the my two
It-
cents.
did you change this way?
What do you mean?
Did you learn something new during COVID? Like, did you change
Oh,
your way that you look at things?
Not really. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I
Mhm.
don't think that it changed. I things I just practiced a lot, and that
Mhm.
was visible also with my girlfriend, with Lenka. She was like, "How come you are not pissed about this?" I'm like, "Well, it's something I can't change, so why be pissed? I mean, that
Mhm.
doesn't help me. I mean, being angry about some restrictions which are being globally enrolled. But what I'm gonna do with it? Hey, I'm against it. Done. You know, like
I
what
think
I
I
can.
think this way we were trained really well. Like, we were trained to realize that we shouldn't be mad if we cannot influence what we cannot influence, right? So, and this is, I think, this was to our advantage, like this corporate training, let's say.
Oh yeah. For us, when you said vacation, like Bahamas, so our plan in 2020 was actually go to Australia, New Zealand, uh, Prague. We had like really the whole year planned, like where we going. And so, because of that you can't travel anywhere, what we did is we rented a house. So we called it vacation house because all the vacation money went on that house.
But the house was in your city, right?
Yeah. It was in a different suburb, but just house. So we moved from flat to a house with garden and no people around, literally. And we, even though before we did some hikings, but now we did extensive hiking. Literally, we went every Saturday, either on 2 or 5 hour hiking. Just because we have these small Carpathians around Bratislava, so really lots of places to go for a hike. We did a driver's license for motorbikes with my husband. We felt a little bit ashamed to do a driver's license after 22 years again. And that's the funny part, that when you are doing a driver's license for a motorbike, you literally need to do the whole car school again, like from scratch. And when we were preparing ourselves for the test, so for 3 weeks we were not doing anything during the breakfast, just like doing one test after another, one test after another one. So 3 weeks we were learning again. Some of the laws, some were changed because 22 years is really long time, and we passed. And now we have the new driver's license, or updated driver's license, let's say. Then also I kept a promise with myself. So every month I did a drawing, minimum a month, one drawing. So I kept that promise as well. And it was like the biggest piece that I was missing are the people, because I am a huge extrovert. I am a people person. And so I was craving for people.
What did
And
you do? What did you do to meet people?
well, I couldn't meet the people, so that was the problem, that I had to keep myself busy and occupied.
Mhm.
So fair enough, I became a workaholic again. So I worked 10 to 12 hours because what else to do? Will you just keep looking at the four walls? What else to do? So I worked. I did my art. I had calls with you guys, like we always had. So just for those who are listening to us, so me and Kolaj, we used to live next to each other, and we had our tradition. When we went to work, we went to one very specific coffee place. We take coffee and
Mercek coffee shop.
yeah.
Let's make the advertisement.
Yeah. He deserves it. That's the best coffee in place. And then when I changed the job, we couldn't do it every morning, so we always went on Wednesday. And then Kolaj moved to his own place, lives in a different suburb, but we still stayed at Wednesday. We met there and had a coffee. And now COVID happened, so I'm like, Kolaj, we need to have our coffee. It's like, it's a must. I'm used to it. It's a must. So every Wednesday we had online coffee. So we just chat, we talk, etc.
Interesting about this is actually what you may notice with also all the transition periods, that first it wasn't immediate. It wasn't like, oh, we are staying at home and that's it, so let's meet online. But usually there is some period of time where you need to refocus, concentrate, and find a way afterwards. So it was like, okay, so first I think like for 2 months we haven't had this coffee, or month or two, and afterwards like, okay, so we see that this is not gonna end so soon, and we are missing it. So how we're gonna do it? So you need some time to process all the changes.
Yep.
But that's the thing. Like when I compare it to China, people just listen, right? That's how they are raised. People just listen, and they just accept it. And sometimes I wonder if it's something to do with religion, right? Because in not just religion as like churches and stuff, but like your beliefs and values, right?
Yeah,
so
culture, what we talked about in the first
yes,
part.
exactly. So it's like because like Buddhism is very big in China. Not many people are religious, but Buddhism says like you live in a moment. So don't think about the past. I mean, you can think about it, you can think about the future, but the only time that you actually have is right now. So I think that's why people were like, all right, this is the situation, it's the way it is, and let's do the best for ourselves and everyone around. So
and I think this is the perfect end for today.
But I wanted to talk more.
We can. We still can.
So, guys, you've heard us talk about the situation or this phenomena that brought to us, and I hope you've learned something new also again about China. And yeah, because not many people, we tend to see China as a much lower country, but it's so not true. And we have our own experiences with our Chinese colleagues, friends. It's so different. But the people who never been there or who never worked in global companies, they think really less about the country, but they are like really prosperous country. So if you like us to talk furthermore, or you want to learn about anything, or you want us to touch any topic, let us know and we'll do that. Otherwise, annyeong.
Bye bye.
Do widzenia.
Just so you know, this podcast represents our own opinions, experience, and our own ideas. We do not represent any official statement from our employers, and this is not their official channel representing the company.